All right, we're good to go, ladies.
Yay. Hello, fellow splitting geniuses. Welcome to another episode of Splitting Smart, where Heather and I get to have candid and super informative discussions with divorce and well-being professionals. So our goal here is actually to provide you with knowledge on various modalities of support that can help you to unhitch with fewer hitches. So after all, we know that knowledge is the antidote to fear. And today's conversation is going to be mainly around divorce coaching and how a divorce coach can support you through the difficulty or the difficult times you might be facing, and also help create an optimal divorce experience and help you to create a new chapter in your life. So I am Lila Aiken Ali, a divorcee, a divorce coach, and the founder of Split.fyi.
And I'm Heather Steer, a divorcee, a CDFA, divorce coach, and the co-founder of Split.fyi. And before we introduce our next guest, and since we are live, I wanted to mention that if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat and interact with us live, and we'll address the questions as we're having this great conversation. And we're excited for anyone that is here and able to join us or is rewatching this. And if you have any questions, you can actually put it in the chat and we'll see those questions later on. And Paulette will also be able to chime in on answers to anything that comes up as well. So enjoy.
So without further ado, our next guest is Paulette Rigo, a trauma recovery, career transition, and divorce coach. Paulette has a background in teaching yoga, which is, I believe, helped shape the mindset in which she coaches her clients as well, right? And so Paulette is, to add to that, a mediator, a speaker, a host of a podcast called Thriving in Chaos, which I have been on and I love listening to, and an author. And so she's also experienced her own divorce, an 8.5-year experience of divorce, which I think has probably helped her really empathize with the people that she's helping through. I mean, she has walked that walk for sure. So welcome, Paulette. I am so grateful that you've taken the time to be here.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. I appreciate you inviting me and wanting me to be here. I believe that our story and our expertise of our own personal journey is not something that we should lock in a closet and not help and share with others to prevent them from having negative experiences and regrets, and anything that we can do to help and guide and support others through the journey of anything, particularly divorce,
Exactly.
then it's our responsibility to do that. I felt like I really didn't have a choice, like to be silent and just sit on the sidelines and go, good luck, have fun, don't make any mistakes, anybody, but I just couldn't not do it.
Right. Which is interesting. I know we spoke about this because when you go through something as traumatizing as divorce can be, and such a major life shift, a lot of people, I remember asking me, and I'm sure this was for you, the same thing. So why do you want to go back into that and hear other stories of it? I mean, is it going to bring flashbacks? Is it going to be, I'm like, on the contrary, it actually gave me purpose. It gave purpose to what I went through. I was like, well, if I had to go through that so I can help other people, better for it, right?
Extremely true. I would not want to have to relive what I lived through.
No, absolutely.
But I do know that, if you and I were to have met 10, 15, 20 years ago, and we were sitting here and having a conversation about, so tell me what you do.
Right.
And I went through that list of things that, I do, which I still listen to, and I go, wait, is she talking about me? Like, what's she talking about? Like,
Yeah.
I grew up, I wanted to be Jane Pauley.
Right.
Do you know who Jane Pauley is? Like, she was like the goddess of what the Today Show in the 80s and 90s. And as a little girl, I remember going, I want to be a journalist. I want to be Jane Pauley. I mean, I was like 6, 7, 8 at the time. So it was like, but I went to college for journalism and loved it and worked in media. And then somehow I found myself running a ballet studio that my mother owned with her for 20 years and thinking,
Amazing.
how did I end up here? Like that
Right.
Talking Head song that's once in a lifetime. It says, this isn't my beautiful house. This isn't my beautiful wife. How did I get here? That was
Yeah.
like me.
Brilliant.
I felt like I was living someone else's life and, wearing someone else's shoes that didn't quite fit. They felt like, not
Ballet. Yeah.
quite. So, to go through our life experiences, whether that be the decisions that we make along the journey and, who you marry, why you get married, the nature of your relationship, the decisions that you make in your relationship, having children, not having children, where you're going to live, who's going to pay the bills. Those are just married decisions that they don't teach us that in third grade.
Nope.
There's no training for it. I think that's a problem, but that's another conversation.
That's another conversation we'll definitely have.
Yeah, to share your story isn't for everyone, granted, but publicly, but on a private processing realm, I think it's deeply healing and very helpful. So when I decided to do the work I do, founding a Better Divorce Academy and writing and kind of doing the work I do and writing a book about it, I found that it took me a very long time to write it because it started off as a blog post.
Right.
It started off as a 20-page document that kept growing and growing and growing, and eventually got it down. But it was deeply healing to be able to go through the journey. And if I hadn't have done that, I don't believe that the seed would have been planted for me to be able to do the work I'm doing now.
And I often say this, I mean, writing your story, people are often afraid of it, right? And because it makes it so real. But making it so real and embracing it is actually the best thing you can do, right? And it really is an acceptance, because part of the process is accepting, right? It's accepting the situation, is accepting that is part of your story. It doesn't have to be your entire story. It's not going to be forever your story, but it's a part of it, and it's shaped and helped shape you where you're at. And I really want to dive into, because I love your approach on coaching, and I love what you do with the podcast. I was just listening to your latest one, not to digress, but I think you interviewed somebody about copy and about how you tell your story and how you get, comfortable enough promoting yourself. And I thought of this like, yes, it is for somebody who's thinking, okay, I'm going to go and become an entrepreneur. I'm going to try to position or reposition myself, maybe after a divorce, maybe not, maybe I just want to get out of the workforce and, pivot my life. Fine. But that has a lot of parallel in when you're going through a divorce, right? It's like, you can't find your voice. You don't know how to articulate anything. You don't know what it is. It's like something has been stolen away from you and you don't have that confidence. So there's a lot of parallel. But I love that you bring all these people, not necessarily all working with divorce, not divorce professionals, but anybody that you might need to understand, like, who are you?
Well, you mentioned that episode, and I think it was just released lately. And that wonderful young lady's name is Danny Page. She's Canadian and brilliant at copy.
Brilliant.
And the way of course, I was a journalist. I worked in TV and radio. I was, all that. And I was speaking like a journalist was. I wasn't speaking like a real entrepreneur. And you get pretty robotic. It's a different thing. But what I see that it boils down to is integrity, being like owning who you are and feeling completely comfortable in your own skin and having that strength and resiliency to stand in your own story, because there's so much to take into consideration when you're going through divorce, whether it's contemplation. And 70% of divorces filed by women, ladies, if you're out there listening. So join the club, get to the back of the line. Like, I'm not pro-divorce. I may say it again. I'm not pro-divorce. I'm just pro doing something instead of being ambivalent and being miserable and pretending everything is great and putting on the happy face and, dare I say, staying together for the children, which is not necessarily the best or worst thing. Each case is unique, but you've got to really know your thought process. Like what is that thinking that you do? Because it starts with a feeling, and then it goes to a thought, and then it becomes this visceral kinesthetic embodiment. Here I am talking like the yoga woo-woo person here, but and then it goes to feeling, like feeling the feeling. And maybe that is writing, maybe it's talking to somebody. And because 70% of divorce is filed by women, and the average amount of time most women internally have that conversation with themselves, let alone speaking it to their hairdresser or a best friend or anyone, is 2 years. And that's such a long time to tread water and to not know what direction you're moving in. You feel like you're just in what I call relationship ambivalence. You're married, but you're like, and there's just this feeling of being in a pool and going like this for years. It's not moving forward. Deciding what you want, deciding what you need. Is your partner willing to go and work on the issues that are important, or have they already checked out? Are they the ones that's asking you when you're feeling rejected, alienated, and just completely disregarded? There's two sides of the double-edged sword. Are you the one initiating the divorce? Are you the one confused? Are they the one that's confused and initiating? Or are you both coming to a place of like, can we have a conversation? And being responsible for your own self and your role in the demise or the success of the marriage too. Like you can take, hey, like, what have I done to contribute to this so that it's healthy? It's that you can see why it takes 2 years. And then how to prepare yourself and protect yourself and really do less and kind of withdraw a little from the overstimulation of the social media and the TV and the radio and like all the distractions of bright, pretty, sparkly things to avoid what you're really feeling. And that I'm just talking really fast on purpose to the people keep going faster and faster, the coffee and, staying busy so that you don't have to really think about what's important. I see the first thing I do is I get them in my, here's my chair, my socially distanced chair right there, right? I get them over there and I say, let's slow down. Like, where are you? And it's a tough question. The tears, the emotions, the fear, it's a taking, stock, right? And self-study, and we call it Split.fyi, which means self-analysis or self-study. And that's a scary thought. Like, wait, you want me to study myself? I don't think that's yuck. I will study anything and everything, but I don't want to study me. Nope. And when you're dealing with high conflict marriages or high conflict personalities, asking anyone to evaluate or study their behavior, their thoughts, their actions, you can sometimes get a little bit of backlash from that. It's not easy.
Well, and in fact, and that brings me to like the fear that is in there. So they're ruminating, they're talking it out, they're thinking about it. There's a lot of fear that goes around that. And I think that getting over that fear, because whatever you're going to meet on the other side, it's like, you're never going to know. You can't know what's going to happen, but it's being okay with what's going to happen. And that's what I'd say. You're not going to end that fear. That fear might still be there, but it's being okay with being prepared to face what will happen eventually, right? Which is a very hard thing to do. And with yoga, going back to what you were saying, which is interesting, is knowing your body. And I remember, I'm not a prolific yoga, but like I've done it in my life. And I know that the challenges and what was interesting was when you see these people who have been doing it for a long time and they go into these positions that you're like, there's no way, I'll break my body, I'll hurt myself, I can't walk tomorrow or whatever. These are fears. They're little fears as opposed to what maybe you're going through in the divorce world, but there are fears that we are putting on our head going, what's the worst can happen? What is the worst that can happen? We will face it. We might not be able to do it. It might be hard. You might not walk for a couple of days because you'll be sore. It's okay, but you can't think that way. And it's like, I remember thinking, I'm like, there's no way I'll be able to bend this way and bend that way. These are, and that's on a micro level, of course. And when you're going through a divorce, like so when you sit them down and you go, okay, let's start thinking about you, which is everybody's like, me? I've been thinking about everybody else. I've been thinking about everything else. I've been deflecting what I'm feeling because I'm talking about it to my friends, or I'm talking about it, how unhappy I am, but it's not really like, I'm not owning it. I'm just talking about it. So now once this has happened and the fear happens, then what? Like how do you walk people through fear like you would in yoga?
The process begins with getting still.
Okay.
When you are still in body, still in mind, still in breath, or not still as in holding your breath, but even smooth, deep, full, and circular, where your breath is like velvet and it's not like sandpaper or corduroy, it's just smooth. When you're sitting tall and your spine is erect and your eyes and your face are relaxed, and you're able to be mindful of your posture and your body. So yeah, and this isn't a lecture about yoga. I just happen to be an ERYT 500, which just means I've studied a lot of yoga. Don't be impressed with all the letters or numbers.
Love it.
Yeah, it awakens you to self-awareness. Now, the internal voices that are bubbling up, something's wrong, what's going on here? They're either the partner's veering off and isn't congruent anymore. Like you get that like, something's just not jiving here. The arguments, the fights, or the avoidance, like there's, stonewalling and accusations, defensiveness. There's different techniques, or I hate to say techniques, I'm not a clinical psychologist with the names, but the names that you see associated to like, oh, he's doing this, she's doing that, he's doing this, she's doing that, right? When you start to notice patterns in a relationship that aren't healthy or really supportive, your awareness opens. But maybe the awareness is there, but this hasn't happened yet. Yeah. It's just like the little bit of like the Venetian blind, right? Is peeking a little, like I can see something, but you can't quite identify what it is. That's what it is. So many people approach awareness, or what I call awarefulness. It's not a word, but I made it up.
I love that.
If you're full of awareness, so it's awarefulness. If your awareness begins from the body, start there. If your awareness starts from the breath of like noticing a hiccup, like, when a baby's crying and when you cry and there's that like, that like, I can't get my breath, like that awareness that there's a hesitation in it. Or maybe your awareness knows that, oh, my shoulders are killing me.
Yeah, pains in your body.
Or you've gained weight, or you've lost weight, or you're not sleeping, or you're ruminating about whatever. Like can you notice that there's something that needs your attention? If you're not paying attention, then you're going to continue to stay on automatic pilot. Right.
Well, then you blame it. Like that happened to me. I would love to share that, because I remember I was holding my breath. I would sit there and, I didn't even notice I was doing it. A girlfriend of mine.
Your shoulders were up high and your shoulders.
My girlfriend was like, do you know that you haven't taken a breath? I mean, she was just sitting next to me. We were watching something. She's like, do you breathe? Like she didn't hear me breathing. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I wasn't even aware that I wasn't breathing. Like that's when I knew something was, and at this point I hadn't had a divorce yet. I was in the relationship, which is interesting. And so that is 100%. And then we start blaming other things. Like we don't think it is that. A lot of times we think, oh, I just need to get more sleep, or, I'm not eating right. Maybe I should take some sugar out, or let me just take some coffee out of my diet. Like we're saying whatever, there's other things that really isn't the issue that's at hand.
Well, because it's much easier to finger point and blame, et cetera, than to create change. And change happens when the fear of change is when the fear of staying stuck where you are, or the pain of staying where you are stuck, trapped, or confused is greater than your fear of change. So if the pain you're in right now is so bad that you will do anything to change your life, and that fear lessens or dials down, like the volume goes down, it's not as loud. There's still fear, don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying the fear just goes, oh, we all gone, but it's not consuming. That fear becomes less of a burden. And you just can't have enough information about your feelings, the situation, doing your research, but it starts with honoring your values, that core values. There's a list of 230 values that I give all of my friends, clients, anybody I work with, and I ask them to circle their top 25 of the 230 core values. And I think the first one is, I don't have it handy, but I think the first one is acceptance and the last one is wisdom. And it's hard to narrow it down to 25.
Very.
And then of the 25, then I say, narrow it down to 5. And they look at me like, what? That's really hard. It's like, if you could only take 5 of those values with you on a desert island for a month, that's all you can take. You can have food and water and all that, but you can only take those core values. Which of the 5 do you have to take with you? And that's really where you want to start. That's how you want to format the outcome and the next chapter of your life. If you're not living in alignment with the congruency of your core values and moving forward with any decision you make, it will not feel good. And it will be very difficult for you to own it. And that integrity and authenticity and finding your voice it's not going to happen. It's going to be someone else's voice, and you're going to be reading a script because that's what's put in front of you. I'm just being like a silly girl right now, but like, that's not living.
No.
And nobody needs to live that way.
Well, and that brings me around to the fact that when you are going through this change, either you're thinking about it, fearful of it, you need to find that strength, that voice, that inner self to actually make a difference. Whether it be, okay, we need to separate, we need to get a divorce, we need to do this, we need to change it around, or when you're in it and you don't know like how, and I'm sure you've got clients or in a position where they're just abdicating all their decision making to everyone else. Sometimes family, sometimes friends. Oh, my friend said this, so I'm going to do this. Or, my lawyer said this, so I'll just do that. Let's bring it down. And I think that's where it's a great entry to, what coaching and how you work and how we work is really like, let's get to what you want. So I love the fact that you give them, this 230 and let's break it down to 25 and then to 5, because often people don't even think about that ever. I mean, it's not often that we sit there and think about every day, oh, what's my core value today? We just kind of operate.
No, I mean, we should, but we don't, because we're busy little bees and we're always flitting around like butterflies, and particularly as women, fluffing pillows and taking care of things. Yeah, I'm being a little bit silly, but if you aren't goes back to that awareness, aware of what it is that really makes you tick and what you need, it's going to be challenging because there's so many things to consider. How to tell the children, how to decide what's right for you, how to end the marriage, because there's so many different methods. Don't just assume it's litigation or DIY. That's the continuum from Z. And then how to mitigate outside influences. We touched on that a little bit. And how to practice mindfulness. It's mostly about taking control of your own life and really being prepared. Ignorance is not bliss. Like when you feel like, oh, it'll take care of itself. Everything's great. I trust my partner to do the right thing. We can work it out. It'll be great. And I'm an eternal optimist, so it's hard for me to say those things. But I do want everyone to kind of step back and dig deeper into what makes you tick before you start to choose advocates and proceed.
Right.
The average amount of time that you need to really prepare for making a decision, let alone speaking it, is a minimum of 6 months, in my opinion. Unless it's a domestic violence case and you really just need to get your out, you know what, out, so that you are safe, right? But if you're really at a place of like treading water and being in that relationship ambivalence, and you haven't done your research, you're not organized, you don't know what you want, slow down.
Go down.
Slow down, do less and feel more. That's my
Right.
mantra.
Love
Slow
that.
down, do less and feel more. Filling your
Right.
time up in your mind with busy activities is not going to help you get through this very difficult decision-making process.
And so
It's
how do you think the role of a coach then could help with that? Because I know, and but I really want the audience and our audience to understand, it's, for me, it's this divorce coaching. I was living in the UK. I moved here 2 years ago, back to America. I'm American, but I was away for a long time. And of course, America's great like this. It's always like advanced. They've always got, very, they're great advocates of therapy and self-help and all that stuff. So what didn't surprise me that this world of divorce coaching exists here, but I always said when I was going through my divorce 10 years ago in the UK, I was thinking, oh God, I could just use somebody who could just like coach me through. And I kept using the word coach because as a sports girl, that's what helped me. My coach gave me the tools to be a better lacrosse player, to figure out how to score that goal. Gave me that encouragement to make the right decisions of what to do. Or do you want to go to bed early? Probably better that you're going to get 8 hours of sleep or even more, 10 hours before a big game. And, all these things that they taught us that, I was younger then, you don't think about. Nobody thinks about that sleep is the most important thing when you're young. But these coaches, like the coach is what really who I listened to and what I wanted to hear, because it wasn't my parents, it wasn't any other adult. It was a coach that told me, this is, if you want to play your best game, this is what you need to do. So I was saying the same thing when I was going through mine. I was divorced. I'm like, that's what I need. I don't need somebody to say you're right or this is what you should do. It's like somebody who's encouraging me to figure it out. So tell me a little bit about, and I really want you to talk to you about your programming and your program and why you became a coach as well.
Oh my, well, if I had known, or if this existed 14 years ago,
Right.
The outcome of my divorce would have not been what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to say that maybe there was a chance that we could have stayed married and saved the marriage.
Right.
I'm very proud to say that I've saved many marriages that had the nucleus and the foundation of which to be saved. Now, in my opinion, it does take two to tango.
Right.
If both parties want to make the effort and are willing to come to the plate, the table, call it what you will, and then have those difficult, honest conversations, there is a possibility, and each case is unique, in many scenarios, that the marriage can be saved. If it isn't possible, and you've gone that route and you've done the work, you're not going to have any regret. You won't look back and go, we didn't give it enough chance.
Right.
That's, regret is a terrible thing.
Right.
But once you make that decision, we're going to move forward. I believe that divorce coaching makes the couple be able to divorce with dignity.
Right.
And it's very important to be able to stay in control
Mm-hmm.
and maintain your dignity, to try to stay out of court. I did use the word try, not saying it's possible. I am pro litigation in many cases when it's necessary. As a certified credentialed mediator, I obviously believe in the power of well-conducted mediation. But I also do believe that in certain cases, litigation is your only option. But
Right.
arbitration, collaboration, and DIYing, and more of an amicable divorce process that I'm a member of, is very effective. But private one-on-one coaching, not that group coaching isn't great too, but it's a little bit different, where you're dealing with a high touch, kind of deeply supportive mentorship
Yes.
based on proven walk through the fire, cheerleading advocate, like when you really have somebody to stand in the fire with you
Mhm.
and hold your hand and know what it's like because I've walked the walk. Having somebody that's been there in all aspects of the legal, financial, residential, mortgage lending, GAL, co-parenting,
Mhm.
parenting plan, mental health and wellness
Right.
aspects of the whole scoop of the journey,
Damn it.
because
Mhm.
an attorney really helps you with the law. And if
Mhm.
you use your attorney as a therapist, well, I hope you have a few extra bucks laying around.
Right.
And if you use your therapist for legal advice, that could be a bad experience. We
100%.
want to make sure that everyone has their expertise and their lane, right?
Mhm.
Not that there's not a little crossover. And when I coach, I don't mediate. When I mediate, I don't coach. Although I use my coaching hat when I mediate, and I
Sure.
use my mediating experience when I coach. Most lawyers, and I love attorneys. They're some of my dearest best friends. So I would name names, but I'm not going to. Um, is they're amazing people. They're super smart. They have a
Super.
brain that like I don't have.
Right.
I'm a butterfly. So although my attorney did say, Paulette, you'd make one hell of a litigator. So I'm
Oh,
like,
I can see
okay,
that.
we'll
Super
see.
friendly litigator.
Yeah, I don't know.
Putting in the courtroom.
Butterfly litigator, and then vice versa. Like
Mhm.
financials are financials. Like they have that mind. The CDFAs, the Certified Divorce Financial Analysts, the CPAs, like they get that. And my
Yeah.
husband's a CDLP, Certified Divorce Lending Professional. He gets
Right.
everything mortgage, everything lending,
Amazing.
equity buyouts, quit claims. I don't know what that is. I just go talk to him.
Exactly.
And you've got to be able to have somebody that really gets that. So that is really a unique viewpoint to make sure that there's a high touch
Mhm.
situation, that there's accountability, because so many people say they're going to do their research and they say they're going to whatever, but there's no accountability, just like a sports coach, right? And also having the tools and the tips and the tricks, dare I say, and the resources and the network of experts that you need at your Rolodex, if we still had that, that circle thing that went around way back. You
I
need a
know.
Rolodex, you
Right.
need a network, a team of like, oh, I have that in my think spot. And that's just my years and years of experience of being in an entrepreneurial role in many different ways of my life, of like running different businesses and saying, I'm not an expert in that, but I know someone that is. I
Exactly.
know someone that can kick the hell out of that and get you the exact outcome that you need. And I don't know anything about fill in the blank, but I know someone that does. And
Exactly.
I'm immediately going to find that right, unicorn for your situation that you need. Do you need to start a business? Do you need, so many women lose child support and alimony and they don't know what they're going to do. They have to figure out a plan and they just are like, help. So that's the key, the brilliance divorce coaching. It's a thinking partner. It's that
Yeah.
mentor, that hand holder, but it's also having the empathy.
Mhm.
And the empathy is different than sympathy.
Yeah.
Attorneys can be sympathetic of your situation,
Completely.
but
Completely.
and so can therapists, but it's really that sense of like getting it,
Understand.
knowing what it is that they really want, avoiding all of the pitfalls, and why you might be you may be susceptible to
Right.
falling into that trap, like knowing, because of this situation, whether it's a short-term marriage. So my youngest client right now is 19
Wow.
and my oldest is 73. And some of them, it's more of the heartache and there's nothing, they're 19, there's nothing to fight about. Like, who
Yeah.
gets the jeans and the toothpaste? Like,
Right. And you've got your whole life ahead of you. I mean, it's like you're going to meet,
Mhm.
so many
But it
different people.
doesn't make the pain
No.
any necessarily less. And then somebody that's been married 51 years,
Wow.
it's a very different uh, uh, scenario
Yeah.
when you have children, assets, businesses, et cetera, et cetera.
Lifetime together.
Exactly. The brilliance of divorce coaching is having a best friend,
Hmm.
a um, a thinking partner, a cheerleader, a mentor, a guide, a supporter, and somebody that can truly give you your next step before you even think you need it.
Yeah. To add to that list, and I always say I kind of call myself the divorce doula. And so for people who don't, and I think why I think of that is because when I went through my divorce, I was pregnant, and I know that it's a novelty. Having a baby is a novelty.
Well, I am a birth doula.
So there you go. And
Yeah.
that's it. And I could tell, like, with your energy. But it is part of that. It's like you're going into the unknown. So somebody is,
Terrifying.
well, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And it's also exciting. And it can be exciting. And it's trying to find that excitement in that new world that you're going to create, and that new story that you're going to be writing, and that new chapter, that new, whatever you want to call it, whether you're writing it, whether you're telling it, whether you're going to find use for it in your next career, whatever it is, that's the exciting bit too, right? So there are, and to have somebody that you can share that excitement with, I tell you, often I always say to my clients, I'm like, anytime do you need to be excited about something, you're excited about something, you text me, celebrate you. Remember to celebrate those little things too, because we get so caught up in that everything is bad, but there's actually not everything is bad. There's a lot of that good that's coming out of it too.
Oh, it's going from conception to watching them graduate from college. And that's what it's like watching somebody get divorced or being with them, right? It's like helping women successfully reinvent themselves in their relationships, their business, dating, lifestyle, finances, everything about their life is an opportunity to create a whole new, vibrant chapter of your life you never dreamed possible. And the other thing that's brilliant that I get giddy about is the community building, is that you don't feel alone. Divorce is one of the most isolating experiences because you're embarrassed and you don't know who to tell, and you make so many mistakes in the sense that you immediately say, oh my, I'm gonna make decisions that are forever dependent and predicting the future outcome of my life. It's really terrifying. So when you know that you're not alone and you have a sense of community, you avoid mistakes because you have a sense of not feeling isolated, and you feel like you have someone there to guide and bounce ideas off of. It's really nice to not feel alone. Yeah.
Exactly. And well, with that, I actually want to talk before we wrap it up. And I know Heather's out there in the live, checking out if anyone's writing any questions, but you do work with men as well.
I do. Yes. In fact,
And
one of my clients, I just successfully mediated a case. He said, I know this is a crazy question, but I want to do what you do. Can you teach me how to do what you do?
this is great.
And
This is great. Bring it on. I love that.
I know. And he's in a pest control business. So who knew?
Oh, that's amazing. But that does inspire that you want to help other people through, especially if you have a successful outcome. Like, well, let's share that wealth. So you work with men as well. And then can you just talk about how people can work with you? Because I know you have a program they can sign up. I know you do one and you do mediation. So yeah.
Yeah, Better Divorce Academy has everything. The book is called Better Divorce Blueprint. It's an it's a 300-page book, but it's an easy read. It's not War and Peace. It's all broken down in nice little segments for you. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are before. Chapters 4, 5, and 6 are during, and chapters 7 and 8 are after. And Better Divorce Academy stands for before, during, and after.
Love
I
that.
would have called it Best Divorce Academy, but there's really no best divorce. So I settled for better. And the workbook that accompanies it, it's a companion workbook planner journal, shall we call it. It's 198 pages that have all the prompts. So every single question I ask in the book is corresponding to the workbook. So as you're reading through it, there's a question. I want you to stop and actually answer the question.
Right.
And if it doesn't apply to you, NA, move on. But
Right.
it's that going back to that accountability partner, because my calendar's getting really full. And many clients said, you need to reach more people. How do you do that? So I sat down, wrote this 300-page Better Divorce blueprint, and that's what it is, so that you can have everything, all the knowledge in the entire journey from conception to after at your fingertips, and very confidential. It's not the kind of book you probably want to put on the coffee table, but you can have it if you're, living alone and you want to, have a hard copy of it. It will be released very soon on all the book but right now it's digital, so I can send it to anybody digitally. Both the book and the workbook are digital, but they'll be available in hard copy very shortly. And the third part about it, so the book, the companion workbook, but it's an 8-module online course. So for those that learn auditory and visual and don't want to sit and read a book, like some people don't like reading, they really want to be able to hear and feel like I'm there with you through the journey, going through every step of the way. The online course is available to those that want that experience. And you can also refer back to it, and all of the PDFs are downloadable from the prompts in the book. The other part are my my cards, which I just got. I'm really excited. This is the prototype of the no matter what cards. It's a card deck, and you find the card that you shuffle, and I like to, and my clients too,
Like a tarot.
like a tarot card, right? To think of an issue or a problem or a question or something that's really eating at them, and so I just chose the word complete, and then you turn it over, and there's the prompts of the guidance of that. So yeah, so between the cards, the planner, the online course, and the book, and my own passion for being a resource, I have oodles of free downloadable resources. There's a divorce predictor quiz that's free. I do not keep any of the information. It's just completely so that you can say, oh, am I doomed? Or, hey, I think we can work on this. There's plenty resources there. The podcast, of course, is, free resources with experts in so many different realms, everything from business to finance to self-study, wellness, legal, financial, you name it, it's out there. I am a walking, breathing resource for anyone that needs to get through this journey, because I didn't have that tool, that advantage.
You've definitely created it. That's amazing. Hi, Heather.
I'm on mute. Oh my gosh, what a great conversation, ladies. We definitely had some people out there watching. And I was trying to type into our chat on the Facebook Live some of your resources. And so I would love to get your links as well, to put them in there. And then as well as when we save this recording up to our YouTube channel, for our Splitting Smart YouTube channel. But wow, it's you. I mean, I love the work you're doing. It is absolutely what drove, both Lila and me into this kind of work. And, I am a CDFA, so, and then went into the divorce thing. And you nailed it on the head. There just are different resources for different people at different times. And I'm just, I'm super impressed. I love hearing what other divorce coaches are doing out there, and particularly when they kind of sing Lila and I song as well.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't wait to
beat
get
of our
the cards.
drum.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the cards.
I will send you both. Yeah, they're a little thinner than I wanted, and they're too big. I want them 3.5 by 5 and a little bit thicker. I'm doing the box, but yeah, that's
Brilliant.
I
Brilliant.
love to write. I love to create. I love empowering women to really create their whole new chapter of their life. And the more tools that we have and resources and people at your fingertips to be able to get you through it, man, we need that. That's what I needed. And I felt so scared, so alone. And I made a lot of stupid mistakes. And anytime you want to do another Facebook Live to go through those 12 worst mistakes that women make,
We should. Let's do it. It's in. I've got a few.
I think that would actually be a great live. And it's not just, and humanize it. Like, I can talk about the mistakes that I've made, and Lila's had hers, you have yours. Like, it's true. And we are out the other side, but it's, it's real. And we learn from them.
And all of those PDFs are available on Better Divorce Academy. If you're listening and you need resources now, don't wait. So Better Divorce Academy, they're there and they're all free, and help yourself.
Thank you, Paulette. That was amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much.
You guys are great. Love meeting you both and getting to know you both. And thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to doing more great things together.
Anytime, just holler.
Just holler. Guys out there, we're going to do another live for sure on, the mistakes, how to avoid the mistakes in divorce.
Yes, there's, I have another PDF that's called 15 questions to ask yourself before you ask for a divorce. That's another big one, because the things that you can internally ask yourself before you even go down that road is very helpful.
I think so too.
Well, everyone,
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
I'm gonna stop our live stream.
My throat, I was like,